Alright, hey, we're going to start the installation. So we got this nice B5 charger all ready to go. First thing we're going to do is mark the holes for the Wickerbill. We're going to apply painter's tape to the surface so we can mark, and then we'll drill the holes. So we just put painter's tape across the back and get the Wickerbill ready. And I use the Wickerbill backwards. That way you don't put stress on the wire. The holes are all lined up evenly side to side. So to make it easy, you just put the Wickerbill on like this. Just fold it up. Align the center hole with the center, and then mark it with a Sharpie. Okay, just do the holes out. Alright, so after you mark the holes, you're going to prepare to put the cert nut in, and we're going to use a step bit, and basically in the center of the mark drill in just enough for that to fit in. That's it. And then we do the rest of them, and then we'll show you how to use the tool. And once the holes are made, take the painter's tape back off, remove the tape, and you'll thread the cert nut onto the rib nut tool, like so. Insert, pop it through, should be snug, and then you're going to crimp it once, turn it in, crimp it twice, turn it in a little bit, just maybe a turn or two, and you'll feel it tighten up, and that's how you do it. Cert nut goes in the spoiler, not in the Wickerbill. I've had people call and say, does it go in the Wickerbill or does it go in the spoiler? It goes in the spoiler. And then the threaded bolt goes into this and tightens down. And here's what it looks like after all the cert nuts are installed. And the next step is to prepare to run the wire. So we'll show you how to disassemble the inner trunk and remove the spoiler to install the grommet. To prep for the wiring, we're going to remove this trim piece. We're going to remove the hinge trim, which is 3 plastic rivets. We're going to remove the deck lid trim panel, and we're going to remove this end cap as well. The end caps are clipped on with 2 clips. And use a panel tool and get it up underneath and pop them. Now with everything removed, we're going to remove this 10mm, and there is a 10mm here, 10mm here, 10mm on this side, and there are inside these holes, I don't know if I can get a glimpse of it or not, plastic white clip, as you can see in there. We need to pop those as well. In order to pop the 2 white clips that are about right here under the trunk, under the spoiler, in order to pop those, we put some painter's tape down so you don't scratch the paint. And to apply pressure, as you can see, that lifts the spoiler up. We just use a little angled panel tool, and we just push that in. That puts enough pressure on it so that when you put a screwdriver on the side of the clip, it'll pop right out. And there it is with the clips popped, as you can see. Here's the installation of the grommet. We put the grommet on the right hand side. For the RGB or single color, the right exit from the Wickerbill. So we put the grommet on the right side, right in front of the snap hole, right there. 5/8 inch step fit, and put the grommet. Grommet is mandatory. If you're doing chasing, you go to the center and you put it 1 inch in front. put it right here. Now we'll loosely fit the spoiler back on. It's not snapped, not bolted, it's just sitting here. And we run the wire through the grommet, so it's ready to be pulled through. And now's the time to remove the paper backing. Once you get the paper backing, then you can mount it. Helps to have somebody help you do this step so you can hold it. Have two people, and once you get the paper off, then you're ready to go. Okay, so we got the paper backing removed, and what I do is I loosely thread a couple on the left side to hold it in place. That way we can work the wire through and get that situated, and then we'll finish out the rest of the bolts and washers. And so there it is, it's all fitted. And what you want to make sure is the wire's not twisted here. You want to make sure that it goes straight under and it doesn't have a loop or twist in it. That way, I know it's hard to see, but that way it doesn't get pinched. So make sure you don't have any twists and it goes through the grommet, and that there's a little extra wire under the spoiler, that it's not pulled too tight. And then once you have it just loosely snug, not tightened, you don't tighten it yet. You get ready and you put the 10mm bolts back in and get it snug down. And the wire exits here. You can also pull it up here if you want and come down. It doesn't matter. It's going to be tucked behind the liner anyway. But we're going to follow this wire down right here into the trunk. So there you have it. That's where it comes out at. Okay, so once you get it just snug, then before you finish tightening the Wickerbill, make sure you tighten all the bolts and put the bolts back in. And once all of the factory bolts are put back in, you'll get ready to torque these down. And these just get snugged up. They don't get tightened. If you tighten too much, you'll risk cracking the acrylic. So what I do is I finger tighten them, just get them snug, and then once you feel it hit home, then you just go about a quarter turn. That's it. And just quarter turn home. And I typically work from either center out or from one side to the other. Just don't go random. Just either go center to left and right, and that's it. So all tight, all the factory stuff's put back in. So now we'll run the wiring, and like I said, we're going to run this down, follow this wire down, and we'll come around the trunk liner. All right, so I've gone ahead and ran the wires a little bit so you can see how things get laid out. So the wire comes from the Wickerbill, and this doesn't matter whether it's single color, RGB, or the chasing. You're going to come down, follow the factory wiring harness, make your connection here, leave about 6 to 8 inches extra wire, tie it off. That way if you take the spoiler off, you have extra wire, you don't have to cut. And then follow the wiring harness down, and it'll go down in here, and it'll come around and go down to the fuse box. We'll show you that next. To do the lower part of the wiring, we're going to remove this trim panel. You remove the trim panel by reaching below it, pull it out, pull it directly up, and it comes right out. Put that aside, out of your way. We're going to remove this snap. We're going to remove this snap, and we're going to remove this screw. Your factory or your Wickerbill wiring harness is pre-cut to a specific length. Do not cut it. Leave all the wire because there is no extra. If you cut extra wire off, or what you think is extra, you will wind up being short. You need all the wire. Even though it looks long, it's exactly the way you need it. Now we're going to show you how this wire gets routed, because you want to watch out for that spring. You don't want the wiring to get caught in that spring, and you need enough length to to clear the trunk hinge, because it's going to go the whole way down in there. So you need about 2 feet of wire to go down in that hole. That's why this wire is so long. So we're going to come around here, follow back around, and we're going to come down and go right to that fuse box right there. But we want to make sure we go to the bottom here. So we're going to reach in and push the wire all the way down almost to the floor. Okay, so now you see the wire goes straight down to the bottom, comes around, and all that extra wire is pushed down in that cavern down there, that cavity, and away from that spring. And so the only thing you have coming out is about 1.5 feet of the plug. That's all you need. Everything else should be behind the panel. So when you close the trunk lid, you have enough wire to close it without ripping the wires out. Once you run the wires behind the panel, you bring it down. We tied it up right here. Put the controller right here. The positive connection goes on the B plus, and the ground goes on the ground bolt. Don't connect it to the battery. You should never connect to the battery. Connect right here. Your fuse is accessible right there. And then you put the cover panel back on, and your controller just sits right there. And that's it. Once you get all that done, you're good to go. Put the fuse in, download the Magic Light BLE app for the RGB kit, and that'll finish this off, and you're ready to check it out. And there you go. We got that. So make those connections. Put the cover back on, tie up the wires, test it out, and then once you get tested out, you can put it on. Yeah, another Wickerbill done. Love it. Fastys Garage, 972-332-0100. Thanks for viewing.